down. We the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard Championship Weekend. We've been waiting for it. It's finally here. We have the two conference championship games. We'll give our picks. We'll give our reviews of the divisional round and what we expect from the upcoming weekend. But first, Smokey, how are you doing?
Oh, man, I'm good. I am better than Bills fans, even though I am partially a Bills fan. It's kind of my second team, and they looked really bad. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's losing Dayball in the end, but the last few games, Josh Allen hasn't played well, and it really caught up with him in this game when you go against a high-powered offense like the Bengals, and that done him in. But other than that, I'm really sad that we are not going to get to see the underdog Super Bowl like I had hoped for with the Jags and the Giants. They came back down to reality. I guess it was all to be expected. They were facing the top two teams in the NFL in the end there, so it is what it is. But yep, doing all right, man.
I'll say this beforehand. Let me just say this before we get into picks. We're going to have a quiz later on, so everyone is invited to play along and post your results, see how you compare against Smokey, an NFL quiz. Getting into this, and you brought up the Bills first. I think the Bengals are just a good team. Maybe that's that. People want to tear down the Bills and say they played so bad. Yeah, they did. They underperformed, but the Bengals are just really good. They are the current reigning champions, right? And they are back in this championship game for a reason. So it's not like it's an embarrassment to lose to the Bengals. In fact, they are going into this game favored at Kansas City slightly, but they are favored.
Oh, absolutely. And there's been a few losses that the Bills had. I guess they were closer, like to the Dolphins, which the Dolphins were good with Tua. But like the Vikings, that loss, it was a really close loss. So I guess you could say that this entire season they really haven't been as dominant as they have been in the past. But then again, they fell short in the past few seasons also. So maybe that's just the Bills thing. The Bills never win the big one, right? I mean, the 4 Super Bowls back to back to back to back. And they never could get over that hump. So maybe there's a curse on that.
Haven't been back since. Have not been back since.
Exactly.
Now, there's one interesting statistic that I saw, which is that any coach-quarterback duo to ever win the Super Bowl did so within the first 5 years.
Oh,
and this was the 5th year of the McDermott-Allen regime in Buffalo. Does that mean anything? No. It's pretty small sample size. Doesn't really. It's kind of a consequence of the situation that like any quarterback coach duo that makes it to 5 years is probably good, because if they were bad, they wouldn't make it there anyway, right? So it's a bit of a statistical like deception there. Doesn't really mean anything. And the Bills will be back. I mean, they're going to be back in the playoffs next year, barring anything insane happening. They'll maybe get Von Miller back. They're fine. The AFC is incredibly stacked. The Bengals are a great team. It's not the end of the world.
Maybe there is something to that trend, though. Like, once you take a team beyond that level, beyond, or you're in the playoffs every season, the ownerships get anxious. And if you, say, go down a season, you're quickly dropped. I mean, look at Doug Peterson, a few years ago. He won the Super Bowl and still got dropped because of a bad season 2 seasons later. So maybe there is something to that trend. As long as the Bills keep making it to the playoffs, they're fine. But
I mean, making it to the divisional round, you can't say that they like massively underperformed or anything, right? Not in this division, and not in this conference. Sorry, because Kansas City, Cincinnati, Bills, it's kind of you can kind of flip a coin. Like these teams are all so good and all pretty even. It happens. I think they'll be back, and I think they'll make it to this championship game in the future. So I'm not really buying the doomsaying of Buffalo. I know they're gonna break it apart, and McDermott's got to go, and Stephon Diggs wants to be traded. Not buying so it. Fast. Yeah. Not buying it. It's overreaction. But I guess it's what happens. So
now, if they win, say 8-9 next year, then McDermott needs to fear for his job.
Yeah, if they went 8-9, miss the playoffs, now we have a problem.
Yeah.
Now something's up. But I mean, getting like a canceled game away from being the 1 seed, and then losing to an equal opponent with like having a bad day in the division round. That doesn't mean that the team that has like a structural problem or like necessarily a big issue. Many teams have done that. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really buying it. I'm excited for these games though. So let's get started. We have only 2 games to pick. Actually, yes. Good point. I really do. I really want to know.
Because you actually picked them all correct, and I went out on a limb. I wanted the Giants to win. I just wanted an underdog to come through here. But the favorites, can we say the favorites? Were the Bills favored over the Bengals?
Pretty even.
Oh, okay. Well,
there's no big favorites anymore at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, the
home game,
Chiefs
snow,
were favored
maybe.
over the Jags, and the Eagles were favored over the Giants, and those turned out that way. But since we disagreed on 2 and I lost both of those, that only gave me, what was it? So what was there? 4 total. You got 4 total. I had 2 total. Brings our totals overall for the playoffs to 6 and 5. So I really need to get a win. I mean, there's only 2 games left, so hopefully you pick someone that I don't.
Right. So I was actually going to say this because I kind of knew that this was going to be the result. During the regular season, I can't keep track of all of them, right? So I'm always a bit... it catches me by surprise what the results actually were. In the playoffs, I sort of knew I had them all right. So I was going to actually come in and make this offer just to make it as fair as possible, right?
Yeah.
For the rest of the season, conference, championships, and the Super Bowl, I will pick first.
Okay.
I'll pick first, so because I could just parrot your picks every time and win, right?
And
but that will be cheap. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna pick first. That means I probably get to pick favorites, even though there aren't any big favorites anymore. But I'm gonna let you take risks where you think you should.
Yes.
Not that there's a lot of those left. But let's get into this week, and we're starting with the NFC. We have the Niners at the Eagles.
All right, so do you want to go?
Oh, yeah, right. Sorry, yeah. I will go. Okay, so to recap first of all, right? Eagles completely ran over the Giants. Giants had a terrible game, their worst game of the season. It doesn't mean that, just similarly to the Bills, doesn't mean that they have to blow up the whole operation. Brian Daboll is still in line to be coach of the year for how he's turned that organization around and has turned Daniel Jones from a below average quarterback to a top 10 quarterback. I think they'll continue to have success, and I wouldn't be surprised if they made the playoffs again next year. They're gonna have to add talent at receiver. That's for sure. That's probably the biggest position of need. If they can manage to to give Saquon and Daniel Jones contract extensions, add talented receivers, I think they're gonna be really good. The young defensive line, they can really rush the passer. Giants are gonna be fine. Eagles won because they're just a better team, and on all fronts, the Eagles are stacked. Great offensive line, great defensive line. They are great at every position. As for the Niners, it's more about the Cowboys than it is about the Niners, really. I couldn't have drawn it up any better. Like, especially it happening back-to-back years the exact same way. Where Dak just like plays badly, throws the game away, and then at the end of the game, like the last play of the game, they somehow call the most ridiculous play all season. You think they do it on purpose. It almost feels like it. Why do you put Ezekiel Elliott at center and then throw an 8-yard curl route when you need an 80-yard Hail Mary? I have no idea. I've looked at the play, right? I tried to figure out what it was meant to be. I have vague ideas, but it just doesn't make sense. Like, just throw it into the end zone or as deep as you can. I mean, yeah, you kind of messed up with like getting the feet in bounds. Didn't really have a good range or anything. But just throw it deep and see if something happens. You get a PI and another untimed down. Mm-hmm. Someone catches, some miracle happens. I'm not a big fan of all this like a lateral around and like underneath stuff, and we pitch it back 15 times like we're playing rugby. Has one of those ever worked outside of the Miami Miracle? Yeah. Maybe that's why they call it the Miracle, by the way.
Exactly.
I can go find like 50 videos of Hail Marys working, right? Those you get whole video compilations of those. Those lateral plays, you don't really get to see that. You get the Miami Miracle and the band is on the field. Those are the only two I've ever seen. of those plays working. I don't know why people try them. I don't know what that was meant to be. Put Zeke at center. It made for great television. It made for great talk show material because that's the way the Cowboys are supposed to lose. As for the Niners played good. Not as convincing as the Eagles, though against tougher opposition. Cowboys' defense is very strong. They put 19 on them. I think they need to execute a bit better on offense. I think that is one issue. Defense was phenomenal as always. Took the ball away when it mattered. Special teams fumble. Okay, small hiccup happens. And Brock Purdy's still solid. I think he's very much solidified himself as a starter going into next year. He just does not make mistakes. Doesn't throw the game away. That being said, though, for this NFC Championship, purely based on what I've seen last weekend, you may not believe this, but I'll pick the Eagles.
Ooh.
I'll take Philly because I think this is the first time that the Niners are evenly matched on all positions. And that is offensive line, defensive line. The secondary is better for Philadelphia. They have star receivers. They have a great tight end. They can run the ball, and they will run the ball in the same way the Niners will do. Purdy's great. Jalen Hurts has been great this year. He's more mobile, more of a threat on the ground. I think it'll be a very close one. It has the potential to be a low-scoring game. I'm giving it to Philadelphia for the simple fact of being at home, and because it is still like a last draft pick rookie who like is not supposed to be here at all, and he's gonna play fine. He's gonna play good. He's gonna be a great quarterback for a long time and start next year. I think we have evenly matched rosters, so I'm giving it to the home team that's been just a bit more consistent, had an extra week of rest, and that just looked stronger in the divisional round.
Did you give your
Don't
Bengals?
want to, but
I'm sorry.
Don't want to, but I don't want to make this pick, but I'm making the pick.
I bet you don't. I can't believe you actually did that.
3-point game.
Man, sometimes you gotta be a homer, man. Well, I don't know. That's probably the first time you picked the 49ers to lose all season, I believe. But
might have picked the Chiefs when they actually did lose against Kansas City.
Gotcha.
Which was the last time they lost, by the way.
Did you give
Week
your
7.
Bengals Chiefs pick?
No.
Okay.
We started with the NFC. We'll wrap that up and then do Bengals.
Okay.
I'll let you have the NFC.
Well, that makes it easy actually, because I do think these teams are more evenly matched. The Eagles have a much more high-power offense than the Cowboys, and I know how good the Eagles' D-line is, and from what I understand, that's the strength of that defense. So I think this whole game is going to be a defensive battle. I think it's going to look much like the 49ers and Cowboys game. I think it's going to be kind of low scoring. I think the Eagles probably have a head of steam right now. They may overhype themselves going into this because they saw the low scores and they saw the dominance that they put out there against the Giants, against their division rivals, who have absolutely no weapons outside of Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. They're not stacked. Like, that team was lucky to be there. The team is good. I will say that for the Eagles. Dayball, speaking of that trend you were talking about, I would expect the Giants to be knocking on the door of the Super Bowl within the next 5 years. I think they're going to end up maybe looking something like the Bills in the future. But as for right now, they were too depleted. They just were not good enough. They got to have some receivers out there if they want to beat a team like the Eagles in the playoffs. As much as we hoped it would happen, or I did at least, it's not going to. But the Eagles know that I can see them getting this false sense of security about that game and going against the Cowboys. I mean, the 49ers, who put up a very low score game to the Cowboys, who has, I would say, a better defense overall than the Eagles. So that makes me logically say that, man, if that pass rush can get to Purdy, it's going to be very hard. It's going to be very hard for the 49ers to win. But I am down a point. I'm going to say that the better coach in the end wins this one. And that is not Sirianni, who called Jalen Hurts Michael Jordan. And he's got a long way to go before he's Michael Jordan.
Yeah. We compared him to John Morant instead.
Yeah, exactly.
For like
that's
being
a much
pretty
better
hyped for having done anything at all for like a season and a half.
Yeah, exactly.
And being kind of hyped about it.
It's still kind of gimmicky in a way, right? I mean, all of these guys, Kaepernick and Lamar and guys like that, they come into the league and they do this in the beginning. But eventually, they're going to have to turn into proficient pocket passers. Now, and I'll say Jalen has absolutely developed since his Alabama run, because he was absolutely not a pocket passer at Alabama. He is much better than that. I know he's been working on it. I know the work ethic of this guy, but he just hasn't developed yet. He's definitely not Michael Jordan of the NFL. I would say Mahomes is the closest thing to that at this point. But as far as longevity, you got to say Rodgers, something like that. This game right here, I will be picking Shanahan to get it done. And I am going with the 49ers.
I'll be silently rooting for you on this one. I will say, you make a good point with the coaching. Mm-hmm. And yes, the way the Niners win the game is by making Jalen Hurts drop back 30 times, 25, 30 times this game. Absolutely, yeah. That's how they win. If he's contained in the pocket, and if the run game doesn't go off for Philadelphia, and they're in a lot of third downs, 3rd and 5 and longer, that's how Niners win the game. Because that's how they won against Dallas, right? Mm-hmm. You stop Zeke and Tony Pollard. Unfortunately, Pollard got hurt. Dak can't scramble well enough. You make Dak throw a lot on 3rd down. And he will get you the ball once or twice. And I think Jalen Hurts can get you the ball once or twice if he's forced into those situations consistently. You have to make those impact plays. So this is the Eagles are 2.5-point favorites for this one, which means it's basically a pick 'em. They give you 2.5 to 3 points to the home team. So it's basically a complete coin flip, which makes sense, and actually looks like they're finally starting to respect Brock Purdy a bit, because remember, they were barely favored to even beat Dallas. Like there was a pick'em game against Dallas if you consider the home field advantage, which I didn't think that was right considering who Dallas is. But this one's correct. You know, these odds are good. Should be pretty much a coin flip. Yeah. As for the Bengals and the Chiefs, so moving on to the AFC, I find this one real difficult to pick, because here's the thing. Yeah, you have Kansas City at home, and that is a big advantage. The Bengals have beaten the Chiefs 3 times in a row. Joe Burrow is 3-0 against Patrick Mahomes. Okay, he is Mahomes' kryptonite so far in the NFL, and they just outclassed the Bills, who a lot of people thought were preseason favorites, and throughout most of the season we thought they had possibly the MVP of the league. A top 3 defense and a top 3 offense did the Buffalo Bills. They were outclassed by the Bengals, who did struggle against Baltimore, but they came back really strong. In Buffalo, in the elements, everything was supposed to favor the Bills. And they really outclassed them. They had their best game of the season. And if they can play like that, and given the demons of this matchup, I think the Bengals have a really, really good chance of making this. However, I'm going to take the Chiefs anyway. I'm taking the home team. And by the way, they are the seeded underdogs. Chiefs are the underdogs, and that is because of Patrick Mahomes, right? He's the high ankle sprain. He's going to be playing on one leg. He did play on one leg, and he won. He won convincingly playing on one leg, and Chet Henne did a good job filling in for him when he had to. But I'm sure Mahomes will play. In fact, I'm 100% certain Mahomes will play with an injury that normally sidelines you for a month and a half, by the way. But he's going to play because he has to. Otherwise, they probably have no chance. I think he's going to get it done. The reason these odds are the way they are, with the Bengals actually being 1-point favorites on the road, is because of that injury uncertainty. But we've seen Mahomes being able to do it, right? As opposed to other quarterbacks, he can drop back and pass, right? And he doesn't lose much effectiveness if he just drops back and passes. So I'm going to say the coaching experience here gets it done, right? Zach Taylor is great. Outcoached McDermott, made to the Super Bowl last year. A lot of people were doubting him his first year in Cincinnati. I think he's really turned it around. Joe Burrow is fantastic, and the whole offense is great. I'm going to give the nod to the more experienced coach, and I think Andy Reid really wants that rematch with the Eagles. So, especially if the Eagles win, I think he'll have a little bit of extra motivation to make it happen. So, I'm going to pick the Chiefs.
Wow. That's going to be an interesting storyline if we get to see Andy Reid versus the Eagles. Actually, either way, if we get to see Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, versus the Golden Boy, that'll be great. Zach Taylor, I think I said this maybe middle of last year that we may be mentioning his name in as one of the best coaches in the NFL coming up here shortly, and it is happening. I mean, he's in line for Coach of the Year after doing that. Did he win last year? Wasn't it Zach Taylor?
Did he? It may well have been. I don't actually remember last year's winner.
Yeah, I still put my
usually
vote in
the thing with Coach of the Year, and we'll talk about this next week, by the way, because next week we'll have our award predictions.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, with Coach of the Year, you usually get someone who just turned a franchise around,
yes.
right? You could give it to Zach Taylor or Kyle Shanahan this year easily. You could give it to Andy Reid. But they've been successful for a few years now. So you have the sort of an inherent favoritism for guys like Sirianni or Brian Daboll, as you said, who kind of turned the franchise around in that year because they apparently did a better job, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But absolutely, Zach Taylor could win it.
Yeah, absolutely. But it may be, if he did win last year, they probably wouldn't go for a repeat when you have guys like Sirianni and Daboll out there. I'm sorry, not Sirianni, but as far as this game, oh man, this is tough because I want to say that Mahomes. I mean, he's obviously not going to be mobile. He wasn't mobile in the second half of that game either. And if that pass rush can get to him, which they are capable of doing, they can make this a really tough game for the Chiefs. But he's always got that relief valve of Travis Kelce that he can just dump it off to anytime he's in trouble. And it always works. It almost never fails. Kelce will come through in the end. That's going to make it tough on the Bengals defense. But you have great safeties out there. As far as the Bengals, they are on fire. They probably feel like they can conquer the entire world right now. They feel right now that they are going to be Super Bowl champs. So I will go with the most healthy quarterback. And just to pick opposite of you, I am going with the Bengals.
There you got it. 2 disagreements. Mm-hmm. I'll say this, and one thing you're right about. The Chiefs did not want to. The one team that Kansas City did not want to come to their house for championship Sunday is the Bengals.
Yes.
The Chiefs were rooting for Buffalo. They'd rather play Buffalo in Atlanta than the Bengals at home. Mm-hmm. I'm sure of that. I'm sure of that one. And I think the Bengals are very confident going into this one. Mm-hmm. They've beaten them 3 times in a row, including this. By the way, this is a repeat of last year's championship, so there's a bone to pick between these two. Chiefs certainly are going to look for revenge. And Bengals are looking to make this series 4-0, at which point you'd have to ask what's going on. Is there a mismatch? Something isn't right. But they are going to be looking to extend the series.
Well, I'm sure the Cowboys are wondering what's going on with their matchups against the 49ers at this point.
Well, it's the Cowboys. I mean, it's. I don't think this is unique to the 49ers. See, if they ran into the Eagles, or God forbid someone made it to the Super Bowl and played the Bengals, Bills, or Chiefs, or really any AFC team, same thing would have kind of happened because, well, the Cowboys just get like 2 to 3 points every week just for the name and for the logo and the franchise. They're just by default slightly higher rated than they are. This is a roster that if you look at these 4 rosters we have left, you could say, okay, these are maybe at the Bills. You have the 5 best top to bottom rosters in the league. Cowboys are not in that same tier. Same as the Giants. They don't belong in that same tier. They may think they do. Every year they claim they do. They don't. Okay, they don't have a top 5 head coach. They have a top 12 head coach. They don't have a top 5 quarterback. They have, on a good day, a top 12 quarterback. So, Cowboys don't belong in that tier. I don't think it's a problem with the Niners as much. It just happens to have played them twice in a row. It's just the Cowboys shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, they lost that game. It's not like they got run out of the building. They lost the game with bad mistakes and just playing worse.
Well, and that's why people are talking about McCarthy maybe losing his job. I mean,
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
That's what we hinted at earlier, right? this season, if you're realistic, right, and you're not a Dallas Cowboys fan, this season is a success for Dallas because they made it to the top 4 teams in the NFC. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they all thought, because that's kind of what they do, is they, trick themselves into thinking every single year that they should win the NFC, but that's just not realistically the case. So if you're holding yourselves to standards that just don't make sense, like if the Texans go 8-8 next year, they're not going to fire the coach, right? Because that's a big success considering what they have to work with and where they come from. Same with the Jets. Robert Saleh is not getting fired for missing the playoffs because he turned the Jets relevant after 5 years of nothing, or almost 10 years of nothing now. So that's the problem with the Cowboys, is the aversion to being realistic about their actual chances and their actual talent and what needs to happen. I don't know if McCarthy has to go. I don't think so. I think it's more likely that Dak needs to go than McCarthy this season.
That'll upset.
Now, he gets a lot of money. People have talked about it, and I've heard, of all people in the world, Skip Bayless has talked about it.
Oh, Lord.
The possibility of getting Aaron Rodgers to Dallas on a 1-year or 2-year deal.
Man, I can't see that happening.
Him and McCarthy back together,
Yeah, but
the roster, like, if you add Aaron Rodgers to that roster, that suddenly does become a real threat.
Oh, absolutely. But wasn't Rodgers one of the reasons McCarthy is gone from Green Bay? Didn't it play out something like that? Wasn't he down for getting a new coach? Which has absolutely not...
Oh, probably, yeah. So would he want to go back and play with him again?
Yeah, I was going to say it hasn't really worked out. But Rodgers won the MVP 2 years with LaFleur, so I guess that's a success. I mean, I don't think
Packers roster is really bad. I mean, we know what Aaron Rodgers' priority is, right? He's made it very clear in an interview. He cares about winning another MVP.
Yes.
And he doesn't care about going to another Super Bowl, and that's just the cold hard truth, right? Mm-hmm. So if he'll stay I mean, he's hinting at wanting to go somewhere else, but he says somewhere else gives me a better chance at winning another MVP, which is not what a lot of people would say. They'd say it would give me a chance to go to a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
but
like Brady.
He's made it pretty clear what he cares about. And yeah, sure, he can win MVP with a lot of teams. He can win MVP on any team because he's maybe the best player in the league. On the average, he is. Does he fit the mentality of the Cowboys, though? I'm not so sure about that. Cowboys quarterback's a special job. And you're kind of Jerry Jones' best friend. That's part of the contract, right? Yes, exactly. You want, and I'm sure Jerry Jones wants a yes man, okay? He wants a yes man head coach and wants a yes man quarterback who can be the face of the franchise, big smile, not say anything bad ever, and just go do like mattress commercials, right?
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers doesn't fit that as much to me. No. It doesn't quite fit that.
No, I can see
I don't know.
A huge clash with Jerry Jones and Aaron Rodgers there. Because Aaron Rodgers he's one of those people. He's like Brady. He's going to do what he wants. Jerry Jones can tell him what to do, but he's probably going to do whatever he wants in the end.
Yeah, not happening.
Yeah.
I want Aaron Rodgers either in Tennessee or with the Jets. I think those are 2 spots I'm looking at.
Yeah,
that would
definitely
be promising.
I mean, I know they got a great defense, but I just can't see the Jets making a Super Bowl. But like you said, he's probably not even worried about making a Super Bowl. He just wants to be the man again. So
yeah, I mean, listen, look at this, right? So the defense is ready, right? Defense can win a championship for the Jets. Add Aaron Rodgers, from Zach Wilson to Aaron Rodgers, talk about the biggest upgrade you can make. You have a rookie receiver who's in line to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, who could potentially turn into a top 10 receiver within the next year. You also have a rookie running back who people forget about because he got hurt, who was in line to win Rookie of the Year, who could turn into a legitimate starting running back. You bring in Aaron Rodgers, draft an offensive lineman or 2, and draft a tight end. That's more talented than any roster Green Bay has had since 2005.
Yeah, wasn't Joe Namath on record too, saying that he would make adaptations in the team to fit Aaron Rodgers?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, you got it. I mean, if they think that this is like doable and it's what you have to do to compete in that division, which is entirely possible. Who knows? I'd like to see it. Rodgers with the New York media, and it would be fun. It would for sure make for a good story.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind seeing it. But, okay, that's the picks for this weekend. Let us know yours in the comments. We managed to take 30 minutes for 2 games. Usually we do 10 games in that time. But they're also getting more and more important, right? So it's fair.
Yeah.
All right. We have a quiz. Okay, we do this every once in a while. We just do a quiz, right? I will say this right at the top. I think this quiz is better than previous ones. Okay, I think it's more balanced. I think it's more fair.
Okay.
It's not as many ludicrous questions. There are some ludicrous questions,
Of course.
but it is constructed in a more liberal way. Okay. In total, we have 12 questions here. They're a mixed bag. There's multiple choice. There's true or false. There's guess an exact number. You can gain 15 total points out of this, okay? Yeah. Out of the first 11 questions. The 12th question is bonus question, which is going to be very difficult and kind of a guessing thing. But if you get the 12th question right, that's another 3 bonus points, okay? So the total of the, like in school, it would be the total of the test is 15, but you can get extra credit if you do that one thing. So if you lose like 3 points along the way, you can still get a perfect score, and so on and so on. So first, I want to know your ambition for this one. Out of 15 points.
I think I got like 5 points last year. You know, like you can't study for this. It would be like if you were in school and you have a quiz coming up and you ask the teacher, "What am I studying?" and they just say science. Like what? Yeah. All of it?
Books.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a test on science.
My expertise with the NFL is fantasy football, obviously, and I know offensive players over the past decade at the most. So I tried in the very beginning to go back and study the history of the NFL. But at some point, you know, I focused mainly on fantasy football and gave that everything. So these, like, when you ask defensive questions and things from 30, 40 years ago, that gets really tough. But if you have some multiple choice in there, I feel better about my chances.
There are some multiple choice. So, yeah, if I quizzed you on fantasy football, you'd score in the 99th percentile.
I would hope
Probably
so.
For sure.
Yeah.
In this one, we're going to have you play, right? We're going to get you a score, and everyone who wants to take the quiz, who's watching it, once you're at home, could put their score, hopefully fair score, in the comments. So you can stop the video after, you know, the question's asked, answer it for yourself, and score yourself. But let's get into this, okay? Question number 1. You can get 1 point for this one. Which is the only team to never appear in a conference championship game? Fitting today's theme because it's conference championship weekend. Is it A, the Cleveland Browns, B, New York Jets, C, the Arizona Cardinals, or D, the Houston Texans?
I want to say the Texans. No, they didn't make it. And they are the newest team. I know the Cardinals won a Super Bowl. The Browns, they won championships. Are we talking Super Bowl era and on?
Super Bowl era.
And what was the other one?
The Jets.
Jets. Well, Jets definitely won a Super Bowl with Joe Namath. That was Super Bowl 3. So I will be going with the Houston Texans.
That is correct. Texans got it. The Browns actually made it to, I think, 3 or 4 championship games, never to the Super Bowl. Jets won a Super Bowl. Cardinals obviously played that Super Bowl, the famous one, Santonio Holmes catch with the Steelers. Texans have never made it. We remember that terrible loss against Kansas City when they were up 28-0, and then they got, you know, the comeback happened.
Oh, yeah.
Which was not too long ago, actually, but the Texans have never made it. So that's 1 point. Question number 2, also 1 point. True or false? If an NFL playoff game is still tied after 4 overtimes, there would be a new coin toss and overtime continues again. True or false?
False.
It's true.
Really?
Overtimes are treated like regular games. After a second overtime in the NFL playoffs, they would have another kickoff, like it was a second half. And after 4 overtimes, they toss the coin again.
Really?
Never happened before.
Never seen that,
Hopefully never will. It happens in college sometimes, but in the NFL playoffs, you have to get to a result. There's no tie. And they would treat it like that. Very, very obscure, but never going to happen. But that's what it says in the rules.
There was actually a game probably 4 or 5 years ago between Texas A&M and LSU that went to 7 overtimes, I believe. But Definitely. I don't think I've ever seen more than 2 overtimes in the NFL, maybe.
I was considering that exact game as a question of this, by the way. The most overtimes ever seen in college football.
Oh, wow.
I was considering as a question. It's not, but 7 would have been the correct answer. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm scoring this on paper, by the way. So you
Man,
don't
I wish you'd have gave me that one now.
Number 3. Who is the Los Angeles/San Diego Chargers all-time receiving yards leader? A. Kellen Winslow, B. Keenan Allen, C. Antonio Gates, or D. Malcolm Floyd? Chargers all-time receiving yards
Well, you
leader.
got a future Hall of Fame tight end in there. Keenan Allen, I don't know that he's put in the years. I know that Gates was there for many, many seasons. I'm going to go with Antonio.
That is right, Antonio Gates. There you go. 1 more point. Question number 4. This is a score-related one. What is the highest score by a losing team in NFL history? Is it A, 35, B, 37, C, 42, or D, 51?
Wow. Oh,
Super Bowl era.
I know exactly what this is. It's 51, right? Wasn't it the Chiefs versus the Rams?
Absolutely correct. I even have it in parentheses. Chiefs, Rams. The game that was supposed to be Mexico City ended up not being in Mexico City. Rams beat the Chiefs 54 to 51
What a game.
in 2018. That was the year that the Rams went to the Super Bowl and scored like less than 3% of that in that same game. It's kind of sad, but I liked it. Question number, so that's one more point again. Question number 5. This is a true or false. The Arizona Cardinals are older than the state of Arizona. True or false?
Wow. Just in Arizona because they were on the East Coast originally. So are we talking about just the club?
The franchise. The
Okay.
franchise.
Yes, I will say. Well, Jesus. Now I got to look up. Well, I can't look it up. But I want to know what year Arizona became a state. I got to say. Okay, so the NFL was put together 102 years ago. And the Cardinals were in that original lineup. I will say true.
It is true. Cardinals have existed, in fact, since 1898. And the state, or Arizona, gained statehood in 1912.
Oh, yeah.
So
you know
that's a
what? I
full
was thinking
14 years.
the inception of... No. The NFL is 102 years old, right? Well, college is 152 years old. How does that
I don't know
work
if the
out? Oh,
NFL's... Maybe there was a different league before that.
Oh, there may be. Yeah.
There might have been a different league before that. Because it obviously it started in collegiate sports and then it became like the professional thing. I also don't know if they were ever located somewhere else. They may have well been playing in Arizona before it became legally a state.
Maybe.
But
I
that's
do
a
know
bit
they
hazy.
were in the original inception with like the Packers and the Bears, who were the Staleys at that time. And I want to say they were in one of those states. I can't remember exactly which town because a lot of those first
might
teams
be.
were playing for smaller towns and not even the big
Yeah.
cities.
A lot of it was in the East still back then, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So the westward expansion happened later. That's probably true. But they are older in the States, so that's another 1 point. Question number 6. Which is the only team to win back-to-back Super Bowls twice? A, the Dolphins. B, the Steelers. C, the Broncos. D, the Packers.
Oh, man. Back to back twice. Oh, man, I know the Steel Curtain had a few runs there, but the Dolphins, I would guess, no, they never won with Dan Marino. But they had some Super Bowl wins. They were dominant for so long. Can you run through the names one more time?
It's Dolphins, Steelers, Broncos, or Packers. Back-to-back Super Bowl wins twice.
Oh man, is this with Elway? They went twice with Peyton, but only won one of those. You know what? I think Elway absolutely won twice, right? One of them was against Atlanta in '98.
So to clarify again, right? I'm talking about a total of 4 Super Bowls.
Yes.
Super Bowl wins.
Yes.
Back-to-back wins twice.
Yes. But not necessarily 4 in a row, just back-to-back
Not
twice.
necessarily 4 in a row. Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Broncos.
The answer is the Steelers did it
Really?
in Super Bowl 9, Super Bowl 10, and Super Bowl 13 and 14. Now, the Broncos won back-to-back Super Bowls once with John Elway.
Yes.
Packers also won back-to-back Super Bowl once, Super Bowls 1 and 2. And the Dolphins, I think, only won 1 Super Bowl ever? Don't think they won back-to-back once, at least.
Maybe?
It was the perfect season.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Which they're still celebrating to this day.
Yes.
But the Steelers are the only team to do
Man,
it
I should've
twice
went with my
back-to-back.
first
That
guess.
was the steel curtain in the
Yes.
70s, yep. Question number 7. 1 point was possible, by the way. You have 0.
Mm-hmm.
In what year did the Atlanta Falcons most recently have the first overall pick in the NFL draft? That's multiple choice. A, 1987. B, 1999. C, 2001. D, 2011.
I should know this. Of course, that's my team. I want to say, was Vic the number 1 overall? Which that would put it at 2001. I can't remember if he absolutely... Well, I know he was a first rounder, and he was the hottest quarterback at that time, so I'm going to go with 2001.
2001 is correct. There's a bonus point in this question if you can name the player.
Was it Mike Vick?
Absolutely. That is correct. 2 out of 2 for this one. Question number 8. My favorite question on this list.
Yes.
Only 2 players in NFL history have both multiple receiving touchdowns and multiple pick sixes. Can you name them both? 1 point each.
Read the question one more time.
Only 2 players in NFL history have both multiple receiving touchdowns and multiple pick sixes. So multiple receiving touchdowns on offense and multiple pick sixes on defense. 2 players in NFL history. Can you name them both?
Jeez.
If you have no ideas, I will give you 1 hint, but I'll let you think first.
Just one more time, read the question. I want to get this right. It's so tough.
So there are only 2 players in NFL history that both had multiple receiving touchdowns on offense and also multiple pick sixes on defense.
So that means they were playing both sides. Is Deion Sanders one?
That is correct. Deion Sanders is one.
Who is that other one?
That is the much more difficult one.
Yes. I'm trying to think. Someone that played receiver and cornerback. Well, I guess he could play safety or something also. Wow, this is tough. Did you have a hint, or was Deion the hint?
I mean, my hint was that both of the players were natively defensive players who only sporadically played offense.
Gotcha. You know, Darrelle Revis is coming to my mind, but I don't recall if he ever played receiver also. I'll go with that because that's the only name in my mind. I don't believe it's right though.
Okay, Deion Sanders was correct.
Yes.
I wonder if anyone got this, but the other player is J.J. Watt.
J.J. Watt, really?
J.J. Watt. He had those 2 pick sixes, remember, for the Texans, and then they lined him up at tight end a couple times.
Yes, I do
Actually
remember
caught
that.
3 or 4 passes.
Oh, God, what was that,
No one
13
would
or
ever think of a
14?
lineman. No one would ever think of a lineman when it
Yes.
comes to scoring any sort of touchdown.
I wasn't even anywhere near a lineman. Absolutely not.
Only 2 players that did it. That's why it's my favorite question. So 1 out of 2 points. Which team is now question number 9? Which team has the most retired jersey numbers with 13?
Wow.
A, the Bears, B, the Chiefs, C, the Seahawks, or D, the Browns?
The most retired numbers. who would... I know the Seahawks retired number 12. I don't know that helps this question at all. I will say one of the oldest on that list, right? I'll go with the Browns.
It's the Bears.
Really?
Chicago Bears.
Oh, that's the oldest one on the list.
Yeah. There are teams like the Raiders and the Cowboys that could contend for the spot, but those teams actually don't have any retired jerseys since they just don't believe in it. For example, Des Bryant and CeeDee Lamb all wore 88, which was already worn by Michael Irvin.
Yeah.
They don't retire legendary jersey numbers. Keep them all. But the Bears have 13. That would have been 1 point. Okay, question number 10. My least favorite question on the list, but definitely the funniest. And you can get a total of 3 points for this.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I'll ask the question in 2 different ways. Okay. First way is, what is a catch? And the way to ask the question properly is, can you name all 3 requirements for a completed pass? 1 point each.
Ball control.
That is
Control of the...
slight, yeah.
And both feet on the ground.
Okay.
And making a football move afterward.
I want to give you 2.5 points for this.
Okay.
So I'm going to read them out as they are, right?
All right.
Number 1 is securing control of the ball in his hands or arms prior to the ball touching the ground. I would give you 0.5 point because you didn't mention the ground.
Okay.
That is an important part.
Yeah.
So that is 0.5 point. Touching the ground inbounds with both feet or any part of the body other than the hands. That is completely correct. 2 feet down for all intents and purposes, right? And number 3, with the other 2 having been fulfilled, performing an act common to the game, which is the fabled football move. So I'll give you 2.5 out of 3 on that one. So, I mean, you know it just about as well as most of the commentaries and referees.
Exactly, because sometimes they're like, we don't even know what's a catch anymore.
Also, it's I think you know this because just like it's impossible to watch an entire NFL weekend without being told about it at least twice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it comes up all the time in the review. Question number 11. 2.5 out of 3 there. Question number 11. Who threw the most interceptions in the 2022 regular season despite only playing 12 games? A. Matt Ryan. B. Baker Mayfield. C. Dak Prescott. Or D. Tua Tagovailoa.
Alright, so the most interceptions in 2022 despite only playing how many games?
That is the most recent regular season. Playing only 12 games. Ryan, Mayfield, Prescott, Tua.
I have not looked at those stats at the end of the season. Ryan, did he actually play that many games is the question. I know he threw quite a few picks. So did Mayfield. And that's also a question with him bouncing around teams. Did he? I don't think it's Tua because he was deadly accurate when he was on. I'm gonna go with Matt Ryan.
It is Dak Prescott.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. Dak Prescott tied with Davis Mills, but he started only 12 games.
I would not have thought he was the most this season. Huh.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it, right? But he has a real probability now for turning the ball over.
Yeah. Huh. Okay.
Okay, let me do quick math here. You have 9.5 out of 15 points.
Oh, wow.
Out of this one. That's pretty
year.
good. You still have the bonus question, which you can earn 3 points. So you could potentially go up to a 12.5 here if you guess this one right. But this is an all or nothing question, right? And it's a guess. Out of the top 50 all-time leading scorers in the NFL, how many are kickers?
Oh, wow.
I need you to guess the exact number.
How many?
Top 50 all-time scorers, how many kickers?
How many kickers are in the top all-time scorers? You would think maybe Vinatieri is in there. Matt Bryant maybe even, because these guys play for so long that I will say 3.
The answer is 49.
No way, really?
Kicker is by far the highest scoring position in football. Yep. And you said it because they play for so long.
Yeah, they do.
For every single touchdown, they get 1 point, and then they get the field goals. You get about like 2 or more field goals for every one player scoring a touchdown, and add that up over 20 years. Kickers play longer than everyone else.
That's true. That's true.
Small disclaimer: one of the players on this list is George Blanda, who also very occasionally played quarterback.
Yeah.
Or did actually full-time play quarterback
Yeah.
and had a couple of rushing touchdowns as well. But if we took his rushing touchdowns away, he'd still be top 50 scorer. So 49 out of the top 50 scorers in the league are kickers.
Dang.
There's no points for this, but can you guess the one non-kicker?
Who would be the one non-kicker? It'd be a quarterback, I assume.
So passing touchdowns do not count.
Oh,
by the
okay.
way. We're talking about the players scoring the touchdown.
Okay. Then it's going to be a receiver who played for a really long time, or a running back that played for a really long time, which that would leave me with probably only like Jim Brown and Frank Gore or something like that. So I'm going to say it's a receiver. Oh, I guess it could be a tight end if tight ends tend to play for quite some time, but man,
there's no points for this. You don't have to. There's no pressure in guessing it right.
Oh, I thought I might get 1 point or something.
I'll give you the other half point from the previous question if you get it.
I'm probably not gonna get it. Who is the top all-time receiver? I don't know. I'll just throw a name out there. Well, Jesus, it needs to be somebody that played a really long time. This is tough. Wait, can you give me a decade that they played in?
80s and 90s mostly.
Oh, okay. It's gonna be...
Played into the 2000s, but not famously.
Huh.
90s was the best decade.
Yeah. Michael Irving.
It is Jerry Rice.
Oh, okay. Well,
Jerry Rice, who holds every receiving record in existence.
That's true.
He is the only non-kicker in the top 50.
Yeah, and I think Michael Irvin played well into the 90s also.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, he played probably about the same time, because he was on those Cowboys teams, right?
Run in, 95 or whatever it was, I believe.
Yep. And so you end up with 9.5 out of 15. That's over 50%.
I'll take it.
I think that's pretty good. 9.5 points out of 15. If I wanted to be a little bit more gracious, I could have given you the full 3 points for the catch rule. But catches are meticulous. You have to know it exactly. Mm-hmm. Can't be an NFL ref if you don't know what exactly a catch is. So 9.5 out of 15, I think is pretty good. Let us know at home how you scored if you're scoring along. I like these quizzes; they're always fun.
For you.
If you want to do more, we can. Yes, yeah, true. But yeah, you'll have to say this one was probably a bit more balanced, right? It's not as heavy on the obscurities. I recognize that sometimes. See, because the way I prepare for these oftentimes is I just look through like football databases and like obscure historical like stats and looking at spreadsheet after spreadsheet, and then I come across all these things that I would like to mention as obscure facts. But of course, I realize wording them into questions makes them, because they're very obscure, makes them very hard to answer. So this one I put a little bit more mainstream knowledge in.
You know, you really should make a YouTube video with just the quiz, like the quiz and answers.
Just the quiz,
if you ever search NFL quiz on YouTube, you'll see ones that say the ultimate NFL quiz. And then the first question will be like, how many teams are in the NFL?
Yeah.
Who is the oldest player in the NFL, you know?
What is the Jets' primary color?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, that's the ultimate quiz?
That is the ultimate quiz.
You're
the ultimate quiz for the player for the person only watching on Thanksgiving and the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Oh, I even saw one question before. It was like, who does the center snap the ball to? Like, that's in the ultimate quiz.
Wow. Oh, God.
Yeah. So you really should make some good quizzes. Up there.
I could combine all of the ones we've had like so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of sort them by difficulty. Might as well do them. I have like a 40-50 question quiz. Why not?
Yeah.
But then we have to get someone on to answer them.
Yeah,
because you've heard them already. Think about that. But yeah, maybe that might be an idea. If I have some time, maybe I'll look into that. But maybe if we get a chance during the off season or something, of course it's going to be XFL and USFL.
Mm-hmm.
Not as much of an off season coming up.
No,
we'll probably keep this going straight into April.
Yeah,
it's what it feels like.
What is it, like 3 weeks until the XFL starts, or is it USFL first?
Yeah,
USFL. Right?
Is it USFL?
Or maybe it is
sure.
XFL.
I think the XFL stuff. I mean, the Battlehawks have really started posting on their social media now. Yeah. They are in training camp. The XFL is getting ready.
Yeah, I know one of them is starting really soon, and now I can't remember if it's. Oh, did you see that the Maulers changed their colors?
Did they?
They're going to yellow or black and gold, as they say, but black and yellow.
Black and gold.
Yeah, so they fit in with every other Pittsburgh team.
Yeah, I mean they were really bad, so maybe they thought their colors were just cursed. Like they wanted to get rid of the purple.
Well, I know they weren't getting much support because those people in Pittsburgh really love their colors because it's on every professional team they have. So the Maulers trot out there with purple on and they're like, nah, I'm not into it. But this should garner them more support. I mean, they were the worst team. But they made a coaching move. They have a new coach. We'll see what happens.
Now that you've mentioned it, I've never really thought about it, but yeah, they are all... Every team has the same colors in that city, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Steelers do, Pirates do, Penguins do.
Yeah, they're all black and yellow.
It's just their thing.
Mm-hmm.
Fits perfectly.
Yeah.
One thing we know in the XFL is that the Brahmas are going to win the championship.
Oh,
that's for sure.
Of course. Like, what?
In fact, as soon as the odds show up, I'm betting on that because that has to happen. 100% is The Rock,
Yeah.
There's no way that doesn't happen.
Not saying it's rigged, but the Brahmas are going to win.
The Brahmas will win.
Yeah.
101% chance.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody, let us know your picks for these two games and your scores of the quiz in the comments. And do you have anything to add for this weekend?
No, I think that's it for now.
Then thank you for watching. We managed to punch an hour out of 2 games.
Yeah.
You have to be talented to do that. And we're going to see you in the next one.
Deuces.
Check the scoreboard. Ha.